I wanted to tell you a story that came to mind as I was reflecting on tonight's gospel on Jesus kneeling down to wash his disciples' feet. It's a story about Henri Nouwen, the much-loved priest, spiritual writer, and teacher whose writings I bet some of you have probably read. Late in his life, Nouwen made a surprising decision. After suffering a deep depression, he left behind his teaching career at Harvard and Yale and the continual pressures of achievement and recognition that came with it. And he went to live in a L'Arche community, a place where people with and without intellectual and physical disabilities share life together in a spirit of mutual care, friendship, and belonging. While living in L'Arche, Nouwen was asked to care for a man named Adam. Adam couldn't speak, he couldn't dress himself, he couldn't feed himself. In fact, he depended on others for everything. And so Nouwen did what many of us would probably do. He served him. He helped him eat, he bathed him, he put him to bed, he prayed with him. At first, it seemed clear what love looked like in this relationship. Nouwen was the one giving it, and Adam was the one receiving it. But over time, something began to shift. Nouwen started to understand that Adam wasn't just someone he was caring for. Adam, in his own way, was caring for him. Not by doing anything or saying anything, not by keeping busy, not by helping, but simply by being present, open, vulnerable, and completely without pretense. As time passed, Nouwen realized something that unsettled him. As long as he stayed in the role of the one who gives, the helper, the strong one, the one in control, he could keep a certain distance. But Adam, it turns out, was inviting him into something deeper, a deeper kind of relationship, a relationship where he wasn't in charge, where he couldn't hide behind being useful, where he simply had to be present and receive. Nouwen gradually came to see that this might actually be the harder part of love, not giving it, but allowing himself to receive it, to be changed by it. In a way, he had to learn a new rule for his life, that he couldn't just be the one who serves, but also someone willing to be served, someone willing to be loved. Because it turns out you can spend your whole life loving others, but still not know how to be loved. Tonight, on Maundy Thursday, we remember another new rule, the new rule that Jesus made, the new commandment that he gave his disciples on the night before he would suffer and die. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another, he tells them in our gospel story. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. That word, Maundy, of Maundy Thursday, literally means commandment. It comes from the Latin word mandatum. And so tonight we too are invited to remember Jesus' new commandment, the commandment to love. And not only to remember it, but to write it on our hearts. You know, from my experience, churches like ours, like St. Thomas, are usually filled with good people. People who understand that we're supposed to love others by serving them. People who love to do good deeds for others. People who love to help others, especially those who are most in need. I believe that most of the time we do this because it's what Jesus commanded us to do. Of course, there's always room for growth in how we love others. But for many of us, this part of the commandment, the giving of love, comes fairly naturally. But here's the thing. The business of loving others is only one side of Jesus' commandment to love that we hear tonight. It turns out there is another side to this love. And this is the side that I think is actually much harder for many of us, especially those of us who have some amount of power or privilege. And that is this: being able to receive love from others, allowing others to serve us, letting others show us love, letting ourselves be loved, seeing ourselves as lovable, not because of anything that we've done or how accomplished we are, but simply because we are. This is harder than it looks, it turns out. It was hard for Henri Nouwen. It was hard for Peter, too. Recall the awkward interaction between him and Jesus in the gospel story tonight, when Peter refuses to allow Jesus to wash his feet. "Lord, are you going to wash my feet? You will never wash my feet," Peter says. Foot washing was an important and necessary custom in Jesus' time. People's feet got dusty and dirty, and it was part of the ritual of hospitality to always wash a guest's feet. But foot washing was work reserved for servants and slaves, not for masters. And knowing who Jesus is, Peter is certain that he has no business washing his feet. And yet, Jesus replies, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Or perhaps we might hear it this way: "Peter, unless you let yourself be loved by me in this way, you won't really know who I am, and you won't really know what love is either." Yes, letting ourselves be loved might just be the most difficult part of the commandment to love. Because it means, as Nouwen discovered, and Peter too, that we have to let go of our need for power and control and allow ourselves to become vulnerable before others. It means we have to acknowledge our own needs, including our need for love. It means we have to see ourselves as worthy of love, others' love, and also God's love. Not because we've earned it, but because it is given. Perhaps that is the hidden part of Jesus' commandment, the fine print. And yet Jesus says, unless we can accept this gift of love, we have no share with him. Because if we are to love others with the love of Jesus, we first have to be willing to receive that love for ourselves. In a few moments, we will transition to our foot washing liturgy. The foot washing is probably the most tender and, let's face it, awkward liturgy of the whole year at church. An occasion when we actually get to practice giving and receiving love from one another in a very real and tangible way. In washing one another's feet just as Jesus did, and having our own feet washed. At this holy table, we encounter that same truth week after week. Because here too, we remember how love was given and received in the simplest, most profound way. How Jesus shared a meal of bread and wine with his friends on the night before he suffered and died, even with those who would betray him and deny him. At this table, we are not the hosts. We are the guests, and Jesus is the host. And while in the days ahead we will have many opportunities to show our love by serving others, tonight our only job is to let Jesus love us, to let him serve us, to let him wash our feet, to let him feed us, to let him lavish us with a love so broad, so deep, so high, that not even death could overcome it.